the house is quite far along, and hopefully the 12 months will be enough for the RV to then go away after that 12 months. So staff had recommended approval, as does the Planning Commission, and recommends the 1-year period for construction. That concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
There's no house there.
What's that?
There's no house there.
Can you hear him? Did you hear Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. It's elevated on stilts. You should see the photograph in your staff report.
Mr.
The
Martin,
RV is actually right
there.
next to the home.
I think you got the wrong one, Doug. This is, man hadn't started the house yet. So
I'm sorry, I've got the one.
So Rest Haven.
All right.
My brother.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. Wrong one. This is James Martin. I'm sorry, and he's the one on Rest Haven Road. I apologize. It's the same impacts, just a different location.
Okay. Mr. Martin, is the RV already there?
No, sir.
No.
So you're not living there yet?
No.
Okay.
The footings have been dug, and that's it.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right. You've heard the staff's recommendation. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve it with the 12-month, just like planning is on.
Okay. Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion made and seconded to approve the special exception for an RV for 12 months. Is any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, Ms. Jones? Or Jason, do you want to do it? She's going to do it? Okay.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. I love it when technology works. And Mr. Martin, good luck to you.
Appreciate it.
12 months. Good luck.
I'm getting older, maybe look slow.
All right. Thank you. Welcome to Upson County.
Thank you.
All right. Next, public hearing. There's no sign-up sheet for this one, is there? For text amendments, where the Board of Commissioners is considering the Gateway Corridor Overlay Zoning District, which would impose new and modified regulations along 4 major routes through Upson County: U.S. Highway 19, Barnesville Highway, Woodland Highway, State Route 36, Yatesville Highway, Crest Highway, State Route 74, and State Route 80. An ordinance of Upson County as adding definitions, providing Gateway Corridor Overlay District, setting minimum design standards for the Gateway Corridor Overlay Districts, providing for repeal conflict, and providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. We have, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Public hearing is now open. We have no one signed up for the public hearing comments, so is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Courier, you want to
Yes, sir.
take us through this?
Absolutely. There are some minor definitions that came up during the discussions by the Planning Commission. I won't go over those. I'll try to hit just the highlights. I think one of the first things that was a major decision by the Planning Commission was to make the 301, 74, 36, and 80 quarters from one side of the county to the other, outside of the incorporated areas, to be the gateway corridors. So initially the draft from our intern Meg was maybe a half mile or a quarter mile into the county. The the Planning Commission felt that they wanted to change that, and they made the entire length of those corridors the gateway. So that's certainly a decision they had to discuss. It may be something that you want to discuss, but you'll see on page 3 where the boundaries of the Gateway Corridor Overlay Districts are listed, and they are the full length of those corridors. We then go into some what I would call minimal architectural standards. There are not any really strong or unique prohibitions there in terms of materials. You also see a section on dedicated green space. There was discussion about adopting what the city of Thompson had in their gateway section for green space in the front of the property, but they decided they wanted something a little less than that, and so you'll see that language for the green space and the landscaping that would be inside of that. Then there's section D on that page. You'll see those building materials and colors that are acceptable and not acceptable. Then we go on page 5 into the landscape requirements, which again are pretty minimal. Landscape plans would be required for any new development that would be along those corridors. Then there are specimen tree standards that are discussed, although they're not, again, very onerous, not as prescriptive as the city of Thomaston's were. Then we have a discussion of screening materials, walls and fences, plant material. There are just some standards there. As you know, currently we don't permit fencing, and we don't really have any requirements. So there's some very minimal standards there set for the corridor on the bottom of page 7, letter G. And then that goes into trash and litter. This discussion happened at the height of the concern that a lot of the Board of Commissioners and Planning Commissioners had about trash along our roadways, so that we put some language in there that would encourage property owners to clean up the frontage that's in front of their properties along these corridors. Then you'll see we go into the recommended tree list, which is sort of standard for these sorts of ordinances, and some definitions and prohibition of plants. And that pretty much hits the elements that we have in the Gateway Corridor Ordinance, just to sort of skim the top, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jason, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think the approach that the Planning Commission took to this was to get, basically to get us a starter gateway program. Would you, Mr. Courier, would you feel that that's an accurate statement?
Absolutely.
So it's to get, this is the first time that the Planning Commission or the Board of Commissioners has had any sort of text language in here that could be considered what's the right term for it? Design standards. This is often something that we are constantly lobbying to try to maintain the ability to have design standards in our ordinances, even though we've never actually had them in our ordinances themselves. So this is basically to begin the framework of a gateway corridor program. Certainly wasn't intended by the Planning Commission, to the best of my review of all their work, and they've done an extreme amount of work on this. It wasn't intended to be the quick fix. It was intended to begin to start the discussion about what we can do to improve our gateways into the community. And one of the things I'd like to compliment the Planning Commission and the planning staff on is that I think they really tried to integrate what already existed in the city's plan, so we're not doing something. As we know, these city boundaries are actually changing year to year based on commercial development and other things. So it doesn't do anything that would be contrary to what the city requires in their ordinances. So it's a great first step. The other thing I'd like to mention, this was just intended to have the public hearing portion. I know the board probably in the little less than a week or so that you've had to review this is not ready to move on this, and might potentially want to workshop this item as well. So, but it was just the staff's intent to go ahead and have the public hearing so we can go ahead and begin the process towards adoption.
We have to have.
I would defer. I think we have to have 2, but I would defer to either Doug or Pascal on that for sure.
Doug, I think it's 2.
That's been the tradition, yes.
But
Well,
certainly, I would say, Mr. Chairman, if please share any and all thoughts with the staff. Like I said, we'll probably get it on a workshop item, if you want to take a deep dive into it, but in the meantime, if you could get comments to myself or to Doug, we'll go ahead and begin to try to incorporate any specific concerns you have with some of the language.
Well, I'm sure y'all all have read this and probably got your own takeaways. My two takeaways. One is the extent of the length of the gateway that you talked about. I mean, we're talking about a significant portion of number of properties in the county, and so I understand. This is the first reading of this. There's a lot of people that own land out there that are going to be impacted by this. Could be. And I just want to make sure that we're getting the word out. So, I mean, it's just like everything else we do. We struggle to get some of the word out. So, any help we can get from the local media or, anything that we can do in-house to help get that out. Because, we don't want to do this in a vacuum. I mean, there's things here to talk about. If you have a sign and it has to be replaced, that it will be replaced with a monument sign, and it talks about the setbacks going to 30 feet. Well, not setbacks, but green space. So I know it's important to us that we get feedback from the community on this. And so, Doug, has there been any feedback from the public at the Planning Commission, or?
No, we didn't have any testimony from the public at all.
Yeah. That's my only thing. Anybody else have any?
I would just like to know, and I haven't seen a copy of the cities. I know the city limits that like you stated before, is moving, especially to our north. And I just want to make sure that we're not, we got two adjacent properties and one's got a lot of. It should be a smooth transition as you're moving through that area, and you don't want to see one set of standards here that totally doesn't match this set of standards. And like the chairman said, we just need to take in consideration. But from what I'm understanding here, this is newly developed. Is it newly development, or any time a permit is requested for a piece of property in the gateway?
Well, that was, Mr. Chairman, that was one of the conversations that I'm not sure was fully fleshed out, was anything that would be retroactive or how far back it would go. Although in the particular case of the landscape requirements, they're pretty minimal, and at least at the time that they reviewed them, they are less than what the city of Thompson would require. So I think that that's definitely something that still needs some more conversation, is how we go back on existing properties. Is it triggered by the permit, which is the language that's in there, how much of a permit? And then again, do you have to bring it up to 100% of the landscaping requirement or a portion? I think there's some guidance there in the language, but that's certainly something that should be discussed.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a comment. When I was first reading through this, my thought was possibly kind of to your point on the roads, if we would section this off to where maybe 19 north and south is a little bit stricter parameters and not as strict for 36, 74, because like you said, it is going to impact a lot of, landowners, depending on how it's set up. But that was one thought I had. And then and I don't know if it's for today, but maybe getting into the weeds for a workshop, but just thoughts on what's going to be permitted or not permitted in this gateway in terms of the finishes on section D. I have some thoughts on that, but I don't think it's worth the discussion tonight.
It sounds like we probably need to bring this to the workshop before we do the final reading. And so hopefully that will allow us more time to get the word out. And if there is any public feedback that's out there that we need to hear, that'll give them time to reach out to us either individually or come up here to the board and make comments or just communicate. So if we we want to add this to a workshop and we'll get her done. But it's a great start. Appreciate everybody's
Yeah,
work on
and-
this.
Section D, the minor point, but the formatting needs some work. It was kind of
Yeah.
throwing me off on trying to follow what was permitted and what wasn't, but
Yeah.
just FYI.
It's not ready for prime time just yet, but we're getting there. Okay. And ready to move on to the next item? All right, next item on the agenda is talking about the comprehensive plan. Upson County with the cities of Thompson and Yatesville intends to amend the Upson County, City of Thompson, City of Yatesville Joint Comp Plan for 2018 to 2038. Consider a resolution in plain text language related to becoming a broadband-ready community. This second public hearing is being held to consider the draft language and transmit it to Three Rivers Region Commission. So, thought we had done this already. We were done, but I guess the word was we needed to have a second public hearing. Is that the way I read this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So with that, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? This was on the agenda. No one signed up. So is there a motion to close the public
So
hearing?
moved.
Is it second? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? It's unanimous. So the public hearing is closed. Mr. Courier, you want to?
Yes, sir. There was a lot of confusion, and unfortunately, that's why we find ourselves where we are. There was not a lot of detail in terms of what was expected of the local governments requesting the designation and what had to be submitted. It was basically said, you don't have to really submit much, and you're going to get approved. I think when the city of Thomaston, when we were a little further along, they started to work on their submittal, and they got some feedback from the regional commission that I think that there were actually some rejections, that DCA was saying, no, that's not quite accurate, that's not what we need more. And of course, that doesn't shut the door, it just means you've got to go back and do some more work. Initially, the only thing that we admitted, made changes to, was the goals and policies section, and basically the feedback, and we made additional attempts to get better information, and we actually sent what we had proposed before, and they said, yeah, you're really lacking some things. So then what we did is we amended the issues and opportunities section and the community work program to add some language there, and that was basically the three sections that DCA said we really needed changes in all three, just not the goals and objectives section. So the draft that you got there was based on the feedback from DCA, was basically given a preliminary look at what we had, and they said you need to add this, that's what I've added. So this is not identical to the information you had in your first public hearing. There are additional language amendments in the other two sections of the comprehensive plan. But I believe based on the DCA guidance that we will transmit this and it'll be reviewed successfully. That was part of the confusion also, is the public hearings and how many were required. Is this a minor amendment of the comp plan or a major? We were told it's major. In the beginning, we were sort of told it was a minor. So these first two hearings are to get adequate public input and to transmit our changes to the regional commission, which will then be forwarded to DCA. Then DCA will have its comments of approval or denial back through the regional commission and back to us. So we are just correcting some missteps that we had in the beginning.
Okay, so I assume what you need from us tonight is just a motion to accept the revisions?
Yes, and then transmit to the regional commission, who then transmits them. This is what they call a transmittal hearing, and that's what the first one should have sort of been also. The adoption hearing will be when we get positive comments back from DCA saying that they approve our language changes.
Okay, so we have one more hearing to do on this after DCA does their part.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just quickly, because it's a great segue to an item that's coming soon in this agenda. if you'll look at one of the revisions that Mr. Courier included, is labeled as P6 under community facility and services. The added language is all residents will have made available to them affordable high-speed broadband access to their homes. Local government in Upson County shall support the development of broadband in the county and its municipalities, taking a leadership role when necessary, adopting policies to facilitate broadband deployment, finding ways to leverage existing assets. So it very much beefs up that statement in our comp plan and makes it very clear as to what the goals and objectives of the board are when it comes to broadband.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the revisions to the document and to forward the transmittal to DCA?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I'm hearing no further discussion. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Okay, moving along. Next gentleman you see on the agenda is the consent agenda. And the consent is the regular meeting minutes from September the 28th and the acceptance of the August 2021 financials. Is there a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't in attendance at the meeting on the 28th.
Okay.
Okay. Which brings up a question. And, you know, we don't have to figure it out tonight, but I got to thinking, you know, if a commissioner is not present for a meeting, but if we go back and subsequently watch that meeting on YouTube, would that qualify? Does that? Food for thought there.
My initial reaction would be no, but we can certainly explore.
Technology, yeah, yeah. I may not have been in the room, but I was there. All right, great. All right, moving along. New business. Update on broadband infrastructure grant submission.
Mr. Chairman, I won't spend too much time introducing this item. I think pretty much everyone on the board is intimately familiar with the change from our partners at Wavecom that they're requesting as a part of their helping us draft and submit a grant application. The chairman and Commissioner Watson actually had a pre-meeting review on Friday. In lieu of our work session, we had Wavecom scheduled to come to the work session and present to the entire board, but we had some scheduling conflicts. But essentially, if it would please the chairman, I'd prefer, since they're in attendance today, I'd prefer Wavecom to walk you through the changes. I did forward you a detailed email late last week based on a meeting I had with them prior about what the strategy is here. I'm in 100% support of the strategy. It's a good strategic move on their part and our behalf. So with that, I would just think it might make more sense for a representative from Wavecom to just go over some of the changes they're requesting.
You're not surprised by this, Dylan, so.
One question, I would like to show everyone a map online. How can I do that?
I don't
Is there
know.
a way to transfer it to the TV?
Well, we can cast at this point, but if you have it on your laptop and you just want to pass it around or something, we can do that.
So the major change, we started out with our original MOU. Wavecom was going to invest in Upson County with Upson County support for the original ARPA grant at 11,500 household passings. Now, after that, the ARPA grant was delayed for 2 months. That brought a lot of new FAQs out and a lot of new players. In those FAQs, we learned that you would not be considered overbuilding someone who was already considered served. That would be 25.3 or above. So after we learned that, we went back and got a new estimate, new maps, new drawings, and come to find out there are about 2,100 homes in Upson County that are considered unserved or underserved. That being said, what we decided to do was design a network that would hit all of your government entities. That's from Sparrow Bluff to the bus yard to anything that Upson County owns. We're using that as a backbone to get to these rural areas. In essence, all of Upson County will be at 25 or above after ConnectSun completes their work with RDOF. In the event that ConnectSun defaults on their RDOF funds, we'll be ready to overbuild those areas so that every citizen of Upson County has a minimum broadband speed of 25 meg. Let me get this map.
Back question.
Pass it around. Yes, sir.
All right, so 11,500, 2,100 underserved. Where's the catch? Who gets served? Are we gonna bail out for 2,100 homes now instead of 11,000?
The 2,100, so anyone that is not capable of 25.3, which is a lot more than we would initially think, those, all of them, every one of them, that can't get 25.3. The 11,500 is the total number of passings in Upson County that was not under RDOF.
So basically, maybe I may cloud the issue or clear it up. I'll try. So we've taken the one submission and we've split it into two. One is to do the unserved, and then the other 9,376 is the folks that are already in served areas. Correct, Dylan?
That's correct.
So it's still reaching, over 11,000 residences. It's just the grant has been broken down. So you'll see that the majority of our investment goes into reaching the unserved initially, and the remainder will go towards the remainder of the project. So it's two grant proposals, and then that's the documentation supporting the grant. Yeah, it threw me off at first, and that's why we met on.
Yeah, and it's broken up that way because of what they've found in the
That is our certain territory.
in the
And I
grant
can see
application.
all of this.
Yeah, I would just like to get a copy.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chairman, in essence, what Wavecom is proposing to do is to make sure that the entirety of the state contribution is directed towards the unserved, to make it the maximum possible points for the
Best
grant
chance.
evaluation.
The highest
Best chance to
priority
get the
to the
grants,
board.
yeah. And so in essence, instead of going from the high populated areas and then working your way out, so places like Salem and those areas would be last. We're hitting those places first, and then they'll be able to backfill with the other funds that they had, previously said they would put up.
But, so it's a good possibility if we're submitting two grants that one is possibly approved and one is not.
No, we're only submitting the one grant to be on ARPA. Now, when the others follow through later, then we can get that money. But we're only doing one ARPA grant.
Yeah.
And to add to it, we are planning to do the same with Pike County and Spalding County. We have meetings later this week with them, same format, and what that's going to do is really show a regional approach and a regional solution to a statewide issue, and that's going to greatly increase our chances of getting this grant. Because instead of looking at 2,100 houses, you're looking at 7,500.
Mr. Chairman, the reason for the split MOU is that they're still agreeing contractually to do the entire build out. In other words, they're saying we're going to use the grant money for the 2,100, but we're still committing to the community for the remainder of the passings.
The other, the 9,376.
So their total investment will still be the 10 million. It's just on that second piece, like Dylan said, we'll either submit for new grants that potentially pop up, or, you know, as we've been
If
talking.
we can make a business case, we'll do it anyways.
Yeah, they'll just use that to start building out those other areas.
And
to
our investment
build.
on the build out is 800,000. So the bulk of our investments going towards reaching the unserved.
And the bulk of the state investment, all the entire state.
Question, so when a provider provides 25 meg or more
Mhm.
to a household or business,
Mhm.
it's not in that area,
Correct.
what is that?
According to the DCA map,
Right, now, and we know,
it's in our favor.
okay, that's just what concerns me, because the provider go, yeah, I provide that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And
Where's the
there-
verification at? You know?
Then you have the FCC and the 477 that's supposed to be filled out each year. This is actually pretty good. We're not gonna miss any areas
Okay.
that are not under RDOF.
Right, I just know some providers will go, we can eliminate this competition, we'll just say we're providing this service, and boom, that area's out.
It's a big problem.
And that concerns me, just not this situation, but allowing a lesser competitor to come in the marketplace and say, I'm there and I'm providing the service, which at the end of the line, you may be getting 10,
Correct.
but they're saying, they're reporting 25.
And there are cases that do that, but we've done a very thorough investigation on this build out. It's in our favor. There's gonna be some areas that we are able to build with funds. I mean, very, very few that do have attainable 25.3, but it's been very recent.
Okay, so, and so the process is this, we adopt these MOUs and the grant goes in, and then depending on that, the next step will be negotiating a contract to do the build out.
And another good point to note, I mean, obviously this is a positive thing for the community to bring high-speed internet to the most needed areas of the county, but, you know, Wavecom, if they're investing in the community, they're gonna basically we're bringing a new business to Upson County. They're gonna set up a storefront, they're gonna, you know, hire employees, so this is a little bit more than just internet to the homes.
And it's a fair pricing plan. We're offering, right now, we may look a little deeper, but our initial thoughts are 2 speed tiers. One is 100 meg symmetrical, which is more than you can get anywhere in Thompson right now. That'll be $59.95 a month. Second will be 1 gig symmetrical. That'll be $99.95 a month. So very competitive, even with the serve.
And I believe all of these 4 are in the unserved areas that will be hit.
Everyone, yes.
It's just another step in that direction, I guess.
It's just maximizing our chances to actually get the grant.
And so how do we envision this contract process? I mean, so once I'm assuming the best, we're gonna put our best efforts forward. I've already made some phone calls and, you know, hopefully we can get some help from other elected officials at a higher level to push this through. But the contract would look like what? Are we gonna spell out, you know, you're gonna tell us how you're gonna build out, how we're gonna do the pay schedule? Just kind of tell me.
I believe y'all have something that's already in place with
We do.
another, and then y'all
Yeah.
gonna use that as a template.
We do. And David is, he's our COO from Colorado. He can probably tell you a little more on the contract side as he's going through the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we have templates already, and then, again, they're a little bit different for each county, each state, because of the laws and regulations in each county and state. But we have several of these that are in place today, and we just signed one last night with a county in Colorado. So All that will be laid out. It's, it's going to be a two-way communication. It'll be back and forth red lines like there is with every agreement, right? The end game is to make sure that both parties are comfortable with the arrangement and that there's risk on both sides as well. We have to complete this. There has to be an end game. It just can't be this floundering project that goes on for 10 years. There has to be a start date, an end date with phases and project deadlines and milestones.
Well, that's the thing that really got my attention was the 2-year plan. That we're going to do this in 24 months.
Yeah. It'll go quick.
Okay.
But, Mr. Chairman, I think to put it bluntly, the commission will ultimately decide when they pay out with state funds and local funds and for what. So if, so that's all part of the negotiating process. So if we're blessed enough to get the grant, then we'll work with them to determine, all right, well, these are the parameters we want to see met before we release any grant funds into this project. And that will be part of the discussion. So, yeah. And of course, at minimum, they're going to have to follow the grant guidelines.
Yeah.
So, and the state's already developing what those are going to be, and those will be non-negotiable. So those will, to the minimum grant requirement will be built into whatever form of contract we have, because those are going to be the minimum standards. And then you apply the board standards to that. And then, of course, Wavecom, they're going to want to have their standards. And that's the back and forth that we hopefully will get to have if we get awarded.
And the term 25-3, I mean, that term is just, it's stuck at the FCC. It's old. I mean, we've passed that threshold. So most of our networks are starting at 100 all the way.
I wish I had 25-3.
Yeah, well,
I wish I had 3.
In some cases, we present this and folks just look at us like, okay, what else are you going to bring? So we get it. It's an evolution. And the fiber provides that long-term backhaul, right, for just for future-proofing the network. But in most cases, too, these grants are based on reimbursement, where we submit completion of a portion of the project, and then that dollars are reimbursed back to us after completing the work. So those things need to be worked out, again, comfortable for the county, and make sure that Wavecom has the cash flow to keep up, keep this stuff down.
And for those that are here and those that may be watching, I mean, so that it's our intent, and I don't think he's changed it. The funds that the county's going to use are ARPA funds that we've already received or will receive. So just want to put that out there. It's paid for. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, what staff would need is
Motion to accept.
motion to accept the 2 MOUs and authorization for the chairman to execute.
So staff recommends approving the MOUs and is asking for authorization for me to execute. Is there a motion on staff's recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go forth and do good things. Okay, next on the agenda is discussion and approval of property for tax sale by the tax commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, the tax commissioner had forwarded me 2 properties he wanted the board to consider for auction at less than what the taxes owed, and I'll go over those 2 really quickly. The parcel cards are in your report. I personally have not seen either of these 2 properties, but I have some basic information about the request. The first request is for parcel T26164, which is kind of Zorn Street. The total taxes owed on that property are $929.63. The tax commissioner is asking to start the bidding at $400. And the parcel card has that at 0.17 of an acre. You can see where it's located on the black and white map.
If anybody going with that, it's easy. It's easy
And I'll pass my copies down if everyone's looking electronically. The second parcel is parcel 056D214, which is in North Central. Upson County on Meadow Drive. The taxes owed on that portion are $1,081.52. The tax commissioner is requesting to start the bidding at $700. There was not an acreage on the card, so I'm not exactly sure what size of a lot it is. The assessors had that lot valued at, is that 30 or 3? Okay. Okay. And this is nothing that I don't know anything about either one of these properties aside from what was presented.
It's like a decent sized lot. So, all right, so the first one is $400 and include the 2021 taxes. And the second one on Meadow Drive is $700 and the 2021 taxes. You've heard what the commissioner is requesting. Is there a motion?
Well, they've paid the taxes up until 2018, and I guess they can't get anything else, right? So I'll make a motion to move forward, and hopefully the bidding will go up. You gotta start somewhere.
Second.
Have a motion made and seconded to approve the tax commissioner's request for the bid amounts on these two parcels. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is discussion and consideration of the joint sewer agreement between Upson County, City of Thompson, and the IDA. This, you know, the agreement with the that we did with the city, it had requirements for the IDA to oversee some of the allocation out there, and basically and some other requirements. So it necessitated a three-party agreement between us, the city, and the IDA. What you have here is the agreement that has already been approved by the IDA and the city of Thompson. So the only thing you need to do on this is it's here for our approval, and then it will be a done deal. Right, Jason?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think the three main provisions to look for here are in 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, and it essentially outlines what the IDA's obligations are under the arrangement, and it obviously in several instances refers back to the agreement that we've already executed.
Does anybody want me to go over those three things, or you have them there?
I got it.
Like Jason said, it was everything that was stipulated in the other agreement that we've already entered. So is there a motion on this agreement?
So moved.
So your motion is to approve the agreement, authorize me to execute?
Correct.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
Have a motion made and seconded to approve this agreement, authorize me to execute. Any further discussion?
Yes. All right, so that line that runs out through there, out of the industrial park, which is tied into, Logan's Landing's tied into it too. If Logan's Landing was to expand, what do they do?
Jason, help me
That
on
was-
this. That's
So
up to
that
the
is
city.
Yeah, that refers to the previous agreement. So under the agreement we've already executed, we agreed to the full build out of Logan's Landing and then no other additional capacity. We would have to go get that capacity approved by the city before we allowed anyone to add additional capacity to the line. So it would require action on the county's part.
Yeah.
And if anybody else come along and bought a chunk,
All goes back to the city for their,
the city.
For their approval.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, I'm good.
I guess if the project was substantial enough and they could handle it,
Right.
but this is strictly for the industrial park.
And then there was also language in the agreement we've already executed that says that the preferential way to achieve that service is through annexation. So, you know, I think that's part of the overall goal is to try to drive the growth back towards where the infrastructure already is. But there's always the possibility of negotiating additional capacity for future development. It's just not guaranteed.
Any other discussion? So I have a motion made and seconded to approve. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. So if we can just get the signed copy, the others have signed, and we'll get that done and move on. All right, next is the discussion and approval of voting delegate for the policy agenda for the 2022 legislative session.
Mr. Chairman, I think we were originally going to handle this on the work session,
Yeah.
but we didn't have a good understanding of who may be attending, and always preferable for a commissioner to serve in that capacity as the voting delegate on the policy agenda. So it's just a matter of who you want to assign to that, and someone that's also going to be in Savannah.
And the date of this is Sunday? Is that when that's typically when they do it, right? I don't remember. I changed.
I believe it's Sunday.
Yeah, I changed my plans to go, so I'll be there. Y'all want me to do it?
So moved.
Man,
You know.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to throw me to the wolves. No, that's okay. Motion made and seconded to designate chairman as the voting delegate for the conference. Any more discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Y'all owe me.
Well, you spoke up, so.
Well, you know, I missed the last meeting. I was feeling a little guilty. Next on the agenda is the discussion and approval of vehicle purchase for the code enforcement officer.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the Building and Zoning Department head, Doug Courier, is requesting the purchase of 2 new F-150 4x4 trucks. One is for the new or the addition of a code enforcement officer. One vehicle would be for him. The other vehicle is a replacement of the vehicle that the building inspector is presently driving, which is an F-150 4x2 in poor condition. That vehicle was passed along from some department, I'm not sure which, Doug wasn't either, but it's essentially a hand-me-down with high mileage. And there were, in the email that you all received, there were some photographs of the F-150 that he has. We priced, we requested quotes from several nearby dealerships, and after not receiving, any feedback from several of those, I reached out to Wade Ford, Smyrna. They were very responsive, provided the quotes that you have that were in your email, and subsequent to sending that email out, they came back because they did let me know that the government discount may go up another $1,900, and it did. So the revised quote, I gave you all a paper copy of it, is $31,140 a piece for each vehicle. So our recommendation from the finance department, or the staff, if you will, is to move forward with the purchase of these 2 F-150 vehicles. The Wade Ford indicated to me that approximate delivery time would be January 2022. And there's no more, 2022s is all that we can purchase, 2021s are gone. I mean, there's nothing left to purchase on government contract for 2021.
Is this the truck, the picture of this truck, the truck the building inspector's been driving?
Yes, sir.
I don't remember it looking that bad. Seriously. Do you, Jason? I mean, are you sure this is the same truck?
Yeah, the building inspector originally had the former county manager's vehicle, and then when this one came available, I think from facilities, because I guess he had a little issue with the front wheel drive SUV. He had requested to take the truck rather than the SUV, so that one was in turn transferred to the senior center. They're using that for meal delivery now. So that's not the vehicle he originally had.
Oh, okay. That answers the question.
Okay. So you heard staff recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the staff's recommendation to purchase 2 vehicles from Wade Ford for $31,139.80.
Is that for 2 or 1?
Each.
Yeah, 1 each. Yeah, 2 for that. Yeah, that's what I think I said.
We need
Yeah.
And then, well, be January, right?
yes,
Hopefully.
approximately, yes.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So motion made and seconded to approve. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Appreciate your efforts on this. I know.
Oh, it takes some time, man.
Hopefully inventory will change and locals will be able to get their hands on some so that they can participate. All right. Next on the agenda is the manager.
Mr. Chairman, I think the main item I'd like to cover today, because it's been
Oh, wait a second. I missed something somewhere.
no, we were going to do that under my time.
Oh, we're doing that on your time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
I see Joe here, and it's a subject near and dear to my heart today, so I didn't want to miss it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I invited Mayor Walter to come to join us. He is the project manager and the consultant in charge of our project. I think the chairman had reached out to me last week sometime, I was speaking to the whole board here, that was our October date still good for the cupola install? And I think at the time I had sent Mr. Walter a text message just to doubly make sure that the schedule hadn't changed, and I think to his knowledge at the time it had not. But since then, Mr. Walter's been in communication with Campbellsville Industries and SRS Roofing, and they're ready to provide a non-appetizing update. So I thought rather than be the messenger for this, I would have our project manager here to take some of the flack for this. So he has provided, and I sent to you an email as late as today, a revised schedule. And of course, he's prepared to answer any questions you have, and I am too. I did about an hour-long review of the contract today, and I asked Joe to do the very same thing. So he's come prepared to talk contract specifics. I'm prepared to talk those as well. Well, I just wanted to use my time to take the opportunity to let the board know that the schedule is being requested to be changed again. And I have a paper copy of the email that I sent if you're unable to access it. That's the new schedule. And then there's some email communication between Campbellsville, SRS, and I think even some Campbellsville suppliers. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, if you would
Sure.
entertain me asking Mr. Walter to give you a brief update, I would appreciate it.
Thanks for coming, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you all. It is good to see you all again. We had a city council meeting this evening, so thankfully there's a mayor pro tem who is taking care of that. But I wanted to come down to you and, at the request of Jason, to talk about the schedule and to just share the information that comes from the contractor through the supplier about the status of the cupola. And I have pictures of the most recent that were sent down to show you what's going on. And I'm prepared to answer other questions about progress and other issues. The schedule we received some time ago, I had briefed you all in August, and then the contractor and Jason made a trip up there. Things were rolling along. It would look like we were going to be ready to have an install in about next 2 weeks. The contractor was out of town, and when he got back into town, he checked with Campbellsville last Friday and was informed that they would not be able to have delivery of the product till January of 2022, January 10th of 2022. And then I asked Jody to get a written answer from the vendor as to why that was the case. And I provided that email from Mr. Rick Moon that said that due to the COVID situation and supplier delays in Kentucky, specifically something to do with aluminum skin, that they were unable to get it any sooner. The inside part is complete. We have proof of that sent with the last pay estimate. So that part is done, but the skin, and they have a lot of the detailed pieces that are going to go on the outside. My understanding is the skin that's going to go around, and the part that we're all most interested in, is just not able to be provided until that day.
Okay.
And they did provide a letter from Mid-South, and I went ahead and passed that along so you would see Mid-South Aluminum talking about their problems in getting domestic aluminum and having to get it from China and their issues with that. And you know, I haven't vetted this memo against other sources, just knowing what we know about the market for about everything. So unless there's other issues that are beyond anyone's control, they intend on having the cupola delivered on around January the 10th, and then it'll take 10 days to install it.
Well, my frustration is that we kicked the can down the road. This would be, I think, the third time. And the last time, I specifically said, the community's ready to get this done, and we want it done before the holidays. And we're moving along like things are good, and here it is. They're supposed to be here on the 27th, and if I hadn't been questioning it, we would have assumed the trucks were going to show up on the 27th, and then we would have been like scratching our heads going, wait a minute, we got the holidays coming up. So Jason, you looked at the contract. What are our options? I mean,
Well, and I would, be very careful to say our options are what our attorney would say they are. But what's in the contract is the following. Under section 4 or 5, the contractor shall be liable and hereby agrees that the owner may retain from the monies which become due as liquidated damages and not as penalty the amount of $1,000 per day for every calendar day that work is not complete beyond the substantial completion. So substantial completion, by this contract was supposed to have been, I think, April 17th of this year. So the way I calculated it, we're currently 177 days behind schedule. Now, I'll be the first one to say, as soon as we inked this thing, basically the whole world stopped, and we remember that Campbellsville was not even able to work under Kentucky law for some time. So and I think this board has been extraordinarily understanding of those circumstances because many of you in your private sector jobs have been dealing with a lot of the same things. So I would ask the consultant this and maybe offer this to the board. I guess we may not know where we stand now because we've been very understanding with this under this particular contract, but because we have not attempted to put any teeth behind this yet, does that mean that we're being put behind other clients? And that would be my question to Joe. And honestly, I'm not suspicious that that's happening, but I can't know for sure. So
we haven't been a squeaky wheel.
Right.
We have not said anything. We've been very understanding,
patient. So my question to Joe, and maybe he could offer some advice to myself and the rest of the board. Do we need to start looking at some of these issues so that our project rises to the level of importance that, well, obviously we know it should, but we're just suffering from delay after delay after delay. And I'm not the only one that has to explain it to the community. I mean, we have a board of elected officials here that hear more and more every day, the less action that
when is it going to be done? I was asked that today, unsolicited. Asked it today, and it's gonna get worse and worse. I mean, as the holidays approach, and that's kind of always been our goal, was to have it done before the holidays. So I mean, I understand it. I mean, you turn the news on in the morning, and what do you see? You see, the ships backed up in the ports. I mean, I see some of that, but how do we know? Like Jason said, that we're just because we've been allowing our southern hospitality and our spirit of understanding, it's time to, I'm of the opinion it's time to, if the attorney and our manager and our consultant say it's time to put a little teeth in this, but that's up, it's up to y'all. Because we're the ones that are hearing it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I did invite the contractor to come, and he said he was unable to come, and I trust that that was the case. I will say that, and I made a point to come because I know this is an important project. I will say that so far, y'all have essentially purchased 70% of the cupola project, so you are committed. If you were looking at an alternative, I would say you would be starting from scratch.
Right.
So, I would think you want to continue the project. They have got it, they've got the pieces, they just don't have enough to finish it and get it to where the detail that you won't expect it for it to come down here. And I read the gentleman's letter, the COVID and cancer and other issues. I don't know, I haven't been up there. I'm relying on, because your contract is with SRS Roofing, and they have a contract with Campbellsville, Kentucky to deliver a product. And so some of the discussion should, maybe should go back to SRS and saying, what is it you can do to verify that this is the situation it's in, and this is as soon as they can get it done is one.
Well,
certainly one.
We flew up there.
Yes, sir, and you saw it at the Progress, and that was back in the second week in August.
Correct.
And you saw what they had done today. Sure. And I don't know if you saw, these are the pictures that were submitted back in the September pay estimate that shows you the progress photos, and those show the interior shell is done, and you can see that it looks like your clock tower. And you may have gotten those. I just printed those out just in case to see that. But what you can't, and you see a lot of the detail pieces have already been fabricated, but what you don't see is the skin, as Jody called it, to where you know that it's the proper color, and you know that's your tower. And until they get all that completed, they're not going to deliver it, nor would I take delivery of it. I know it's a small shop. I know Jason and Jody saw that. I reviewed the contract, and I reviewed the general and supplementary conditions about your recourses with SRS, who is your contractor. And certainly if the, if we need to have a follow-up discussion with Mr. English, you can do that. But I just want to let you know that I hate this for everybody. I do, and I wish it was already done, because I know that it's a point of pride for the community, and I know it's sitting there. And the city administrator in Zebulon is a Thompsonian, and asked me about it quite a bit. And he had his opinions about the color of it when we were going through this process, and I said, I promise you, that's going to be taken care of. We've been at this a while, so we're working in your direction. The contract between the county and SRS has some provisions for. There was a time extension requested back in April, which pushed it to June. But still, that's when the clock. And there's provisions in there that can be discussed, and if you want to discuss that, we certainly can with SRS. I know they would like to get it finished. I wish I had a better answer. I wish I could say yes, it's coming in October, but this is what they provided to us.
I have a question. Regarding the material that's up there now, the final weatherproofing, because it's sitting out in the elements so long, is there any concerns of just some quicker deterioration on that? I mean, obviously I know that's your weatherproofing piece, but if you would have had the cupola on it, that protects it somewhat. That'd be a concern with this long, because that's been complete for a while, sitting through the hot summer with all this rain.
Well, we got Phil back there. I don't know if Phil's been up there. There's no leaks up there, right, Phil?
Yeah, I'm sure it's super tight, but I guess, is that, the warranty that we're gonna get, is that really pushing the envelope on that material out in the elements?
Just to be clear, are you asking about the aluminum that's up in Campbellsville, or the
what's up there now?
What's on
well, we'll tell
not
you
the shingles, but
okay.
the little piece.
Well, I'll tell you that our Kit Snyder from the office and Andy are coming tomorrow to inspect it and check it in order to start the warranty period. So that is being addressed to make sure that's going on. And the contractor is still responsible for his site until final completion and any punch list and all the closeout's been done. So that part is going to be addressed. And if there is a leak that's reported, they have to come back and correct it.
So they want to start the warranty period for the roof, the slate. Is that what they're?
I understand. I saw an email that they want to try to get a warranty period date set, but I don't know if that's going to start tomorrow, because the roofing consultant who works with us and our architect have to go and check everything to make sure that.
Why would the warranty period even start? Because they're going to be going up there working. Why would it even start?
I understand that
until it's done.
Yeah, and I will express that. I just was passing along. That was something that come from the contractor, and I believe precipitated the visit to come down here and look at it, since they've been demobilized for a while. But they're going to make sure that that's still functioning as it's supposed to until you can get the permanent cupola attached.
I just have concerns about, I get the other stuff, we're behind their schedule, and that's going to be a legal issue that the attorney will have to give us advice on. But starting a warranty, they're not through. They're going to be working on it. So when you start the warranty, then they go up there and work, then it's going to be this finger pointing situation when something comes up. Going, well, if you hadn't got up there and did this, you're responsible. And then county's left holding the bag to try to determine who we got to go after to get them to pay for something. I don't agree with at all that they should start the warranty. And if the contractor wants to start the warranty, then that's the time that we need to involve our attorney, and maybe we need to enforce some penalties for being late.
Well, I think, and it's been my recommendation to the board that we allow these gentlemen to sidebar over the next few days, review the contract, talk to SRS, let them know that we're not happy, and that they're kicking the can down the road. It's over, and that I think that there should be some penalty at this point, because it's time to let the wheels squeak a little bit. We've been more than accommodating. Does that sound like, yes, sir?
Would it be out of order for me to ask a couple of questions? I'd be interested in knowing if there was any other similar situation that SRS was involved with, where they had completed and had everything ready to go on a timetable, and we got left behind for some reason. I got put behind. Maybe it was because it's the term Southern hospitality. First of all. Second of all, this COVID argument doesn't fly with me. This contract was entered during the height of COVID. So they should have known that there was a possibility of delays. And if I'm tipping my hand one way or the other, it's in favor of enforcing the sanctions that we legally can under this contract.
Mr. Chairman, and I had a question along the same lines, but I would just ask our consultant, do we know of any other projects? And it's really
At the Campbellsville site.
It's the Campbellsville, it's the sub that's the issue. I do want to say for the record that the level of professionalism with SRS has been outstanding. They have been one of the best contractors I've ever worked with. It's this sub that's holding everything up. And I would ask our consultant, do you have any experience on any of your other jobs in the current environment with liquidated damages because of massive delays?
Those photos that you showed me are the same
your
photos that I saw. Nothing was glaring different than the photos that you brought back from your visit up there.
There's a few more items there that weren't there when I was there, but a lot of that I did share with you and was there when I sent y'all the photo.
All right, well.
Do you have any clients that are in a situation where they're talking about going into their liquidated damages clause because of massive delay?
I know we've had them in the past over other issues. I would have to defer back to other folks in the architectural group.
So you can't do that if we won't blink, they'll be saying.
So I can get that question answered. I know that we've had a lot of other issues with other types of non-performance part, but
which, just out of my experience, the GC that we're working with, they haven't had a single project delayed through this whole pandemic piece. Now, the pandemic has come and it's kind of still here, but it's now that we're seeing material, I think is coming into play. So I'm having a feeling this is going to continue on with multiple sections.
See, I think that's the frustration thing too, because they knew. We had a conversation with the folks at WaveCom the other day. We were talking about how are you going to get the material. You say you're going to do this, you're going to get it out, and they're already stockpiling material. They had the same opportunity. They probably had the material, but it went to project somewhere else. So, where I don't know. So Joe was frustrated.
I understand, and I share that, and I know I've passed on what I was told through the contractor that's working for you all, and I don't doubt that he's not frustrated, and I don't know if he can get some of these answers, but we can certainly follow up with a couple items you've requested, and Kent will be down here tomorrow to go up there and do that part, and then he probably can also, we can provide some other information, and we can, I've read, like I said, I've read through the documents, and what we really want is for them to, something profound to happen and then suddenly it gets done quicker. And I would love for that to happen, just so it's buttoned up and it's something y'all can move on and go to the next couple things you've got going on.
We'll see what y'all come up with, but I think, start using our tools.
They're there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. No, sir. I'm always good to see y'all.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
Mr. Chairman, just one more update. I know the folks from WaveCom were here. Obviously, we were working hand in hand with them, our staff, their staff. They actually have a grant writer on this project too. based on the board's action tonight, I think they told us we'll be able to submit in the next few days, so that will be in and waiting for approval. The same goes for the public utility side of our submission. As the board's aware, staff's working on a submission for our portion of the sewer extension to the industrial park and the transfer pipe and the well rehab for Thurston as a secondary submission under the other part of that two-prong grant application, and we expect to have that done probably submitted Monday, so we'll have those both submitted early. The deadline, I think the deadline is the 31st for the first. I think that's when you can start submitting. So that's when they start pulling them for review. So ours will be in and ready and in the queue. So.
Yeah. So I would encourage any board member that has, if you know someone that may be on a committee up there, or start advocating for our grant submissions with the folks at the state.
And when we have the actual submissions, I'll print them out of the system, and then we'll forward them around so you'd have them to reference if you happen to have the ear of an influential person or a decision maker.
Is the deadline at the end of the month, still? Is that the?
The deadline was 31 September, and they extended it 2 months, if I'm correct. So they extended it 2 months. So it's my understanding that the committees have already been established and they're already reviewing packets. They just extended the deadline because, like they talked about, more and more people have come to try to get their piece of the pie now. We were ready. We would have been ready to do it with that initial MOU.
Mm-hmm.
But because they extended the deadline, like Dylan said, more information has become available, which prompted them to separate it. So.
And more guidelines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but anyway, so shake the trees. If you got a tree you can shake. Be a huge win for us if we can get comfortable with these.
And a big thanks to the regional commission. They've been a huge help on the other grant commissions.
I'll let the chairman of that committee then. Who's that?
No, I mean, we've had two staffers
Jenny
from their house, and the economic development person is assisting her on it. And man, they're really doing a great job, and we're ready to smash the button and get it submitted. So.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. English? Jessica, you have anything for us?
I don't.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wilder?
I just want to remind everybody that voting has started, early voting started today, and I do want to encourage everybody to go vote, and we need to keep in mind that, there's a lot of misunderstanding about why we, about the Justice Center. We want to make sure that they do understand that there's a lot of things riding on the splash other than just the Justice Center. And we do want them to go and vote.
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Mr. Jones?
I got nothing except thank y'all for coming.
Mr. Ellis?
A couple things. I just want to piggyback a little bit off what Commissioner Wild said. I've seen some letters to the editor in the paper, and I'm in receipt of a letter, a handwritten letter tonight, and I've heard several people stated about the splosh. There's a lot of confusion and misinformation in the community. I really don't know how to address it, but somehow they're associating the new Justice Center as being a new county office, and that we're going to move out of this building and we're going to all move down. This is just for Justice Center, and it's going to be paid for by Splosh. And I've had, if you've read those articles in the paper to the editor, and you read the letter that some of you may have gotten, I know I got today out of my box. They're just, and I've heard a lot of people say it, that there's a lot of confusion about some of the things going on in the community, and the Splosh doesn't. Splosh it, we aren't asking for new offices. We're not planning on moving anywhere. We're right here. We're happy. We don't want to go anywhere. It's not in our plan, not in our short-term or our long-term plan. That issue does not impact the county whatsoever. In anything we do with the justice complex, it's gonna be for it's gonna be a justice center. That's what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be for city office or county office. It's gonna be for a justice complex. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and I don't know if it's just because people they don't understand the issues, or they're getting the issues mixed up, or somebody that doesn't know is telling that. But I hope that for those who are watching tonight and those that are here, that they understand SPLOSH is, and it's not just for the justice complex. In the SPLOSH, everybody that spends a dime in Upson County contributes towards that SPLOSH. Things that we purchase through those SPLOSH dollars, everybody that spends money in Upson County, that doesn't matter where you live. You can live in California. If you come to Thompson and you spend $1, a penny is going to go to Upson County SPLOSH. So I don't really know any other way to explain it. That's as simple as I can explain it. Everybody pays through SPLOSH. Second thing is,
let me before you go stay on the same subject, or are you going to different subject?
Changing gears.
Well, before you change gears, and I'll add to it. So and I agree. And I was going to say mine, but it doesn't make sense to jump around. So I went and saw the gentleman that wrote us a letter. I spent about 45 minutes on his back porch Friday afternoon, and echo exactly what you just said. There's so much confusion out there that, and I just, we can all speculate where some of the confusion comes from. Is that, there's talk about this building and people wanting to leave this building. And I tell everybody, this board has never had a board discussion about leaving this building. We haven't done it. We have no intention of doing it right now. This is solely a justice center. We have heard this. Mr. Wilder has heard it more than anybody because he's been on this board the longest. Mr. English has lived it because of his prior role in this community as Superior Court judge. This is a need that has been around for at least 20 years. We got hit with this when we came on. You got hit with it when you came on. This is a need, and if people want to, it's not something we want to do. Is the way I try to tell people. This is not something we want to do, but when you have the people who we elect and appoint to provide for the public safety and ensure that our justice system works in Upson County, line up in a meeting, and we can go back and find the YouTube video when we had the chief judge, the sheriff, the district attorney, the probate judge, and the clerk of Superior Court come to us. And then shortly after that, we had a grand jury presentment that said this is a need for our community. Our job is to address the needs. This is a need, not a want. We have a plan to pay for it with SPLOSH. We're fortunate that we now have the T-SPLOSH. We used to depend on SPLOSH to do the roads and bridges, and we still do. But the T-SPLOSH has allowed us to really accelerate that, and now we can take some of that to address some of our other infrastructure needs, which is solely a court facility. And I don't know how to spell it out any clearer, which is what we're all trying to do. It is a court facility to provide for the public safety and the security, so that we can hold. We would not be doing our jobs as commissioners to stand up here and ignore it, especially when we have the opportunity to address it today and fix it, so that whoever comes beyond after us is not hearing it. And what's going to happen to the price tag? We know that the price tag on this is going up every year that we don't act. So people, if you're here, if you're watching, we've got a plan, and nowhere do we envision that we can't. I'm not going to promise what things will be 10 years from now, but in the near term, there is no plan to hike property tax to pay for this. In fact, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to lower property. We've got a plan to lower property taxes through homestead exemption, which, the gentleman, that I had the opportunity to speak with the other day, he and his wife, they're typical Upsons. They lived here, they've worked here, they retired from the mills, they've lived in their home forever, And what we talked about with Homestead, these are the people that we know need help paying property tax because they're living on a very fixed income. And that's what generated that letter from that gentleman. And I had, like I said, it was a great conversation. I wasn't so sure at first, but it ended up being a good conversation. I don't know if he likes me yet or not, but I mean, I didn't go there for that. But so just trying to clear it up. And if you're here, you're there, or you hear of anybody, please call us. I mean, we're not advocating for it. Look, if this thing doesn't pass, we'll come up with another plan. We'll do what we have to do. But I would encourage people to really look at it because I think we've got a great plan. And now's the time to act. It's not going to get any better down the road. And so call us, reach out to us, stand by. I think there's going to be some videos that are that people did that talk about the problems with our court facility that are going to be hitting the street here in the next day or two. At least I hope so. And we won't say anything else about the court facility.
Can I say one thing?
I have, mine's,
Small snippet.
This is about the court
well,
because I owe him his dime back.
no, go ahead. This is.
But you got something to say about the court facility?
This is about the splosh.
Okay.
It's 2-second split. This is not a new tax.
Right.
It's a continuation of the splosh tax that has been here since 2016. Correct?
For you, 2016.
I don't mean to be, I'm just gonna say it what it is. I haven't had anybody who's written anything anywhere that I've heard about that has called any of us and asked us anything about it. There are people that are spreading information out there without
Verifying.
talking to anybody that's sitting up here. So you got your time back.
All right. The only other thing I want to do is I want to follow up. Since our last meeting, I've had many conversations, phone conversations, emails, even a couple of texts about my comment on the trash situation. I've spoken, to all of them. I appreciate you reaching out to me. A lot of them was from my district. A lot of them was from outside my district. They were county residents. I've already informed those folks that I've talked to, but for anybody else out there that's curious, I will, myself along with the county manager and I understand the chairman will be having a meeting on Thursday with the contractor that currently serves as our trash provider or pickup. That's going to probably, just be honest, let everybody know it's going to be a pretty frank conversation. I hope we can get it ironed out, but if not, we're prepared to take what action is necessary. And I just want to give the people a follow-up on that. I knew it was a problem. I had received a lot of calls on it. That's why I made the comment I did. However, by making that comment, I found out there's a lot more people out there that had an issue. And typically, I find that people have, there's a lot of people out there that had an issue that just never really addressed it. That they wasn't happy, but they kept their mouth shut. But I appreciate those citizens reaching out to me. I think every person on this board is concerned about that issue, regardless if it's in one section of the county or countywide. It concerns all of us. So we will be meeting with them on this Thursday, and hopefully I will have some good information to pass along in our next meeting.
And you need to.
Yeah, so mine is court related but different topic. This is just a quick update regarding the architectural design RFP process. We were in receipt of 9 proposals. All are really tight based off of my initial review of it, but this Thursday the 14th, the little committee that we have, which is Al and Jason, myself, EMC, and now a person from Parish Construction, we'll be doing our initial analysis of all the proposals, honing it down, coming up with a finalist group, and then our interviews for the finalists will be October 28th. So sometime after that date, we should have
So it started at what, 18?
Yeah, so when we had we had a mandatory meeting that people had to come before they submitted their proposals, and was it 18, 16?
15.
Okay, yeah. 15 roughly attended, 9 submitted RFPs. And then I'm not sure how many we're going to shorten it down to, but probably similar to the other 4 or so. And then from there, we'll have interviews and hopefully provide somebody that we feel is the top candidate to bring back to the full board.
Okay. That it?
Yep.
Couple of attaboys. Rode around the county last week, had a lot of code issues, some of the ones that we've been dealing with. And I just want to pass along a thank you to our 2 code officers. They have hit the ground running. If you see something, what's that? If you see something, say something. If you see something, let them know. They would like you to fill out a form, but I don't like filling out forms. I just want to say, this address at this road, go take a look at it. They've been out in a couple of the areas that I have pointed out. So we continue to have problems with people sitting stuff out on the side of the road without arranging for a bulk pickup, and it's out there for weeks. They're working on that. If you haven't been by in front of Mr. English's office lately, the kudzu patch that was taking over the business that was there, they addressed that. The individual went out there and took care of that. It's looking a little bit better, looking a lot better. So I appreciate what they're doing, and we've just got to provide them the tools and the support, and just, as I have learned, stay out of their way, stay out of the staff's way, and let them do their job. So so if you see things, just let staff and Jason know, and they'll get on it. And then I think that's it. Things are going well. Early voting has started, so go vote.
Go vote.
It's not just a city election, it's a county-wide, so go vote.
Go vote.
Any final thoughts? Good meeting. Hopefully we'll get some good feedback on our courthouse, and get something moving there. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Was this giving you a raise or what? Yeah, that's it.
Didn't we raise?
In the fine print.
Oh, it's round
It's the wrong thing. That wasn't your responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the city's.
See ya.
How can I believe?
They can just call my
Yeah, potato light, overhang, loose. I can't believe he's driving. Because that's right.
Oh, we're still, yes, we're still on. I'll go back there.
He drives
No, I need
home.
to. I was injured for months, and I actually just started running again.
Ryan played that.
Really?
Did he play on the
White on. Yeah, his wife. Her